Okay, so we talk about the learning style and learning approaches. So, if you remember in the beginning, I have said how to teach a large class. So, in a large class, main problem you have faced as a if you not think about the learning style and learning approaches, the main problem is that if we teach for the first bench, then middle bench say that sir is teaching very tough, and last bench say sir it is not in our capability. So, they switched off their mind. Now, if you teach for the middle bench, then the last bench again say it is above their mind, so they will not attend it, and first bench says teacher is very easy. Now, if you teach for the last bench, then the first bench and middle bench will say the teacher is useless. So, as a teacher in a large class, how do you teach? Another question I have asked, what should be the ideal student teacher ratio for best teaching? Best teaching I am saying. Many people say 20:1, but can you say why? Why it will be 20:1? The best teaching will take place when the teacher student ratio is 1:1. So, after you listen this explanation, the learning style and learning approaches, I am not explaining in the video how to measure learning style, how to measure learning approaches, means how to measure whether the person is a what kind of learner. I am not touching that. I am touching only how you use that learning style and learning approaches theory to teach a large class. So, why I say that the teacher and student ratio, if it is 1:1, best teaching takes place, because teacher can modulate his delivery as per the student's learning style and learning approaches. But is learning style and learning approaches fixed for every learner? No. It depends on the topic, it depends on the time, it depends on the motivation. So, lot of factors. Every time the learning style, learning approaches may be change of the learner. Some subject, some learner is some type of learning style, another subject that learner may be different type of some learning style. Today I follow this kind of learning style, this content is suitable for this kind. So, all kinds of variation is there. So, predicting the learning style and learning approaches of a learner is a continuous process. So, every time you have to predict it. You cannot say that one learner, the one student only love visualization. Many of us has a wrong perception that if I use lot of animation in my presentation and lot of interaction, the student learning will be better. It may not be true. Sometimes if that interaction can destroy their imagination capability of the students. If you see, think about an example, I am giving a real life example, let us think about the movie. Think about a movie which is taken from a story book. You have read the story first and then you watch the movie. When you read the story without watching the movie, what you are actually creating? From the text you are imagining that situation and you are creating an imagination. So, instead of animation graphics, you are creating the graphics in your mind. So, that enhance the imagination capability of your mind. When you watches the movie, your mind is not imaginative, your mind is only visualizing which director has imagined. Director of that movie has imagined. So, director is giving you that image. So, your mind is not working there. So, it is not true that all the lot of interactive material in animation will increase the learning capability. It is not true. So, you have to use learning style and learning approaches as per the requirement in the lecture. So, before we go for, just complete the theory first, what is learning style and learning approaches. So, theory says that the diversity and sameness, immense diversity in humans, students or learners and individuals are different. One size does not fit for all. So, every student has his own learning style, learning approaches, and which is also a function of time. So, I cannot generalize, oh, this class is visual learner, I cannot do that. So, what makes this difference? Type of individual difference, suitability of time, space, place, academic ability, prerequisite knowledge, motivation, attention span, learning needs, levels of interest, socio-economic background, communication skill, learning style, learning strategy. All are the variable parameters. If you see, when you see a when you reading a book, story book, your engagement, since you are very much motivated to read the story, so learning style and learning approaches will be different. So, learning style, learning approaches is not same for all, and difference, individual difference exists because of suitability of time, place, pace, study, academic ability, prerequisite knowledge, motivation, attention span, learning needs. JEE students engagement in 18 hours a day, because need of the learning engage them. Socio-economic background, communication skill, learning style and learning strategy. Good instruction must adapt to individual differences against the learner. So, if I say best learning take place when it is adapted as per the learner requirement. So, how do you adapt? What are the learning style and learning approaches? So, 4 dimension of learning style model as per theory. What is that? Input model, perception model, processing model, understanding model. Input model means how you take the input, the information, it may be visual or verbal. Perception model, sensor, intuitive. Processing model, active, reflective. Understanding model, sequential and global. The key point is that best learning takes place when instructional style matches with learning style. So, at this moment, let student, hey, A is a visual learner. Now, at this moment, if my instruction is visual, then best learning takes place. Next moment, students become a textual learner. Then my learning instruction should be in textual format. So, based on the learning style, my instruction must be adaptive. So, if I say explain each and one, input model either visual or verbal. What do you mean by visual? Picture, diagram, flowchart, plot, animation, demonstration. When the learning is done based on the visual perception. So, I am visualizing that how it is vary by a pictures, I am watching a movie. So, I am learning is take place by visualizing the things, that is called visual learner. Verbal learner, when learning is takes place on a spoken words, suppose you switch off the video, you just listen my audio and you learn. Spoken words. Written words, when you read a book, you may say it is a visual learner, because I am reading that words by my eyes only. So, it is a visual sense, but it is not visual sense. It is translated in a brain into a oral equivalent. That is why that is also a verbal learner. So, it is not that only spoken word, even written words is also a verbal learner. So, based on the input, learning model, 2 type of learning model, visual learner and verbal learner. Most people are primarily visual learner. Most of the people are primarily visual learner. Unfortunately, most of the instruction are verbal, either in textbook or in PPT. Visual and verbal information are processing differently by the brain in different, because visual processing is different, verbal processing is different by the brain. You know that the language model is somewhere, perceptual model, image perception is somewhere. So, they are totally different information and they are processed in the brain in different place and different way. Best learning if presented both modes. So, in a book or in an instruction, if I only provide the text, it may not be good. If I mixed with visual with text, visual means diagram, interaction, animation, picture. So, if I mixed with that, that may be good practices. So, if you remember in the framework software what I said, that the learner may be changed, visual may be verbal. So, you provide both the material which contain visual learning, which contain verbal learning, which contain both learning, all the material you provided. So, as per the learner choice, learner will choose which kind of content is required by him. That is why I am saying, when you say the module learning strategy, you just mention the learning material. Some material may be visual, some material may be verbal, some material may be both visual and verbal, both. Okay. Next is perception model, sensing learner. How I sense learning? Practical, unless, suppose titration example. I cannot learn unless I see that experiment. So, sensing learning, observant, methodical, like concrete fact, data, hands-on classes, like perception, like attention to working with details. What is the problem of sensing learner? Often find course too abstract with no connection with real life. Suppose in your class some learner there he or she is a sensing learner. Now, if your class is only verbal instruction, no practical hands-on experience, no observation, nothing is there, then that learner faced the problem. He failed to, he said that okay, course is very much abstract, nothing to do, only memorization, it does not bother like that. Often run out in the time of test. Sensing learner what? So, they try to imagine okay, this is the observation. So, particular, so if the question is very much memorization level, then we often run out in the test. So, try to make it more perfect in term of observation. So, that is why they run out in the time of test. Then there is an intuitive learner, work at a subconscious level, focus on internal input like. So, intuitive learner means intuitively you have learned. Suppose you are explaining a AC machine design without any diagram, then or without any practical observation by the students in a lab. So, what they do, they intuitively feel that. So, imaginative, look for meaning, okay, this is done, maybe look like this. Abstract problem like variety, quick at their work but careless in test. Dealing with concept, problem, hate memorization and repetition, commit careless mistakes in the exam. Many times students say, oh, this is I have learned, intuitive learning, but they may have a careless, it is not that they do not know, but they may do in the careless mistakes in the exam because of lack of practices, because they are intuitive learner. They thought, I have seen in my kids, once he know that all mathematics he know, it does not require practices, but when in the test he does, maybe that will be a plus, minus into minus, he know it is minus, plus, but then also he write minus. So, intuitive learner problem. Then observation, all learner are partially sensor and partly intuitor. It is not that all are, they are completely intuitive learner, they are completely sensor learner, partially sensing, partially intuitive learning. Most UG students in technical field are sensor learner, most professors are intuitive learning, more intuitor at higher level of courses, preference not rigid, varies from field to field. Processing model, active learner process actively, do something physically with presented material, then think about it. You can find some students are there, once you give the problem, let us try it, that approach. Think out loudly, like group work. So, if you give them, okay, active learner, they are very much active. If you give them the problem, they try to solve it either in a group or by individual. So, what is the problem in active learning? Okay, that problem I will discuss later on. Reflective learners. So, processing model, active, this is a processing model, active, reflective. What is reflective learner? Think about the present material, then do it. First they will read it, whether they want to do it or not, they decide, then do it. So, they have a delay in start. Active, reflective. All classes has both type of learner, nearly 50-50, active and reflective. Then understanding model, sequential learner, global learner. What is sequential learner? Oh, do this, do this, do this. So, I learn this first, then this chapter, then this chapter, then this chapter. You can find some people read storybook page by page. Some people are there is first page, middle of the page, last page. So, they are the global learner. Some people are sequential learner, they like sequential reading. So, sequential learner build understanding in logical step, function with practical understanding, make steady progress, can explain easily, good at analytical thinking. But global learner who read the storybook first page, middle page and last page need the big picture first. So, they try to understand what should be the story in the beginning. If the beginning that is not established, they fail to learn it. Can have a large leaps in understanding with the little progress between them, suddenly pieces fall in the place, synthesis, holistic thinking. So, initially they try this, they try those, cannot do anything, but suddenly they may done the whole things as a whole. So, the problem of the global learner, helpless until the big picture emerge, cannot explain easily, because they have not learned logically. What is the observation? Most student teacher course curricular textbooks are sequential. Global learner are minority, but extremely important as a multidisciplinary thinker, system thinker, top administrator. Global learner at risk in school, college if they are not helped in sensing the big picture, lateral communication, connection with other subjects. Then learning approaches. So, this is the learning style. Now, come to the learning approaches. Surface learning, achieving, deep learning. Surface learning, you find many students in your institute who only read for get the pass mark. Their interest is okay, pass the exam, sufficient. There may be some group of students who find out by hook or crook they have to achieve the highest grade. They are achiever. Deep learning. There is a few students who do not bother about the grade, who do not bother about the pass fail, he only want to learn it, he want to go to the depth of that problem. Those are called deep learner. So, rote learning who try to pass, okay, I do this, okay, I answer only 3 questions, oh sufficient, I will pass the exam. Achieving, many institutes, if you go to the hostels, you can find out students have a function by which they can maximize their grade. Which are the subjects they have to take, they know the function is already defined by the previous years or previous year students. So, if I take this subject, I will get highest CGPA. So, they know what subject they have to take, what study they have to do, they have to know, okay, this teacher, if I meet with the teacher 3 times in at least semester, then teachers remember me and give a good grade. So, they will meet the teacher with 3 times. So, surface learning, achieving, deep learning. Then each of the cases has a motivation and has a strategy. So, motivation is that pass out. I just only surface learning, I only want to pass. So, if I want to pass, then I know if I study, okay, this definition, this derivation, I will pass the exam. So, tendency to rote learn, we are essential, which is only required for pass the exam, surface learning. Achiever, try to achieve highest grade. Achieving strategy is based on the organizing one time content and behaves as a model students in the class. They try to impress the teacher, they try to find out what kind of question teacher will come in the ask in the assignment, what kind of question teacher will give in the semester exam, what kind of class test question teacher will give. So, they try to align with the teacher to achieve the highest grade. And deep learner, intensive. Wide reading and interrelations with previous knowledge. They try to go to depth of the problem. So, that is called deep learning. Then I will say observation. This is very important. Evaluation strategy affect learning style, learning strategy. Most of the time, teacher said students are not coming in the class. Student know if he read only 2 days before the exam, he will get a good grade. So, if our evaluation strategy is such that the student can achieve maximum with 2 days engagement, then why they go for the deep learning? So, evaluation strategy affect learning strategy. If my question assessment is only on skill, then all student have to achieve the deep learning, unless they cannot answer, they cannot pass the exam. So, BR minimum also cannot possible without deep learning. Extensive use of MCQ, none of them, all of the above, you give a 4th choice, student can guess it. So, extensive use of MCQ without proper designing. MCQ can be designed properly, which can only test the skill of the students, that can also be done. But careless design of MCQ, only 4th choice, all of them, none of the above, choice are not related to the misconception, that can hamper the learning strategy. Who said this, why said this, when said this? If you have questions, then how do you expect the deep learning? It only surface learning. So, extensive use of MCQ and this kind of questions increase the surface learning. Testing of higher level cognition skill, deep learning can be promote deep learning. So, if you want to promote deep learning, you have to test the skill, that means your assessment must be reliable, you have to increase the reliability. Deep and achieving is not the best, is the best combination. So, combination of deep and achieving, they have to learn deep, they have to achieve, they have to reach the target, that is the best combination of learning. Okay. So, this is the learning style and learning strategy. I have taken those things from these two references. You can read further for these two references. Again I am saying, I am not saying how to measure learning style, how to measure learning strategy of the students. Rather I am saying how you utilize this theory on your teaching, so that you can say that you can scatter to individual students learning style and learning approaches. Okay? Thank you.